Hello and welcome to Fueling Around with me, Jason Plato, and my good friend and quite possibly my life coach, Dave Vitty.
How are you, JP?
Mate, I'm very good. The sun's out. It's great.
Sun's out, guns out, and actually, from what I heard before, I think you might need some of my life coaching, but more about that later.
Now, Fueling Around is powered by Adrian Flux. As the UK's largest specialist insurance broker, Adrian Flux will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help you save money on your car, your bike, or even your home insurance. So then, Dave, life coached, explain, give it to me.
Well, the thing is, we've known each other for a long time, haven't we? And I think that's what friends should do. I think that friends should be there to actually help steer you in the right direction. And certainly, with some of the things that you get up to, Jason, I think you need more steering than most.
Did you know what?
I mean, on the day of recording, we're very lucky to actually be able to put together this podcast because you went and locked yourself in your own house.
Oh, I can't believe it. But not in my own house, in my own room. I'll tell you about it in a minute. Or maybe I won't. It's a bit embarrassing. But there we go. This is how things go on. Our guest today is a lady who you'll be familiar with if you watch any kind of car content on the telly or even, in fact, online. Her agent is someone that I think we both need to get in touch with because she's bloody everywhere.
Yeah, everywhere.
What's going on? But one thing I have noticed, she only appears with very fine-looking gentlemen.
Hello.
That's why we're not getting any gigs, Dave.
We definitely need to speak to her agent, though, I think.
You're probably best known her for covering Formula E, although she does a whole lot more than that. It is, of course, the wonderful Nicki Shields.
Yay!
How are you, babes?
Thanks, guys. Very well, thanks. How are you guys? And I'll introduce you to my agent, Sean. No problem.
Well, do you know, it's pointless because I've seen. In fact, I know one of your co-presenters very well, and we started karting as kids, and I've had a man crush on him for years. It is the delightful, gorgeous Dario Franchitti, and there's that other bloke you do Goodwood with. Who's that other bloke? The Geordie bloke. That's just the most handsome man in the world.
Oh, well, there's Vernon Kay, who I think you've had on as well.
Oh,
We've got
God,
Dario Franchitti. I know. They're not bad to work with, are they?
Oh.
They're all right.
I mean, it's not a bad job, is it? It's not a bad job that you've got yourself. And I was going to ask you, do you find that you just sometimes just wake up and pinch yourself, Nicki Shields, kind of thinking, this is what I do?
Yeah, I really, it's one of those things where, because I never envisaged working in motorsport at all. It was always very much a hobby of mine. I didn't even think I could work in motorsport because I wasn't going to be a racing driver. And, back then it was just, well, if you weren't a racing driver, you weren't going to work in it. Whereas now, obviously, that's not the case. And you realise there are so many different jobs that you can do. And it's just been so much fun. It really has been. And I think it goes back to that old saying of, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. And that is genuinely how I feel. So I feel very lucky. And I do have to remind myself that I must enjoy every moment because you never know when it's going to end. Yeah. And every time I do a show or a series, if it gets recommissioned, you never know if the programme's going to get recommissioned or not. So you've really just got to make the most of it. I just did a show on CNN and we had 5 amazing years called Supercharged, but it hasn't been recommissioned this year. And it's just one of those things, things move on, it always does. So you always have to make the most of it because you never know when it's going to end.
So what was the bridge then? Because you worked in the city, didn't you? You went into finance with UBS, I think it was. So yes. What was the bridge then? Obviously you were into cars and that was your passion. How did you link into telly?
Well, basically, I went to university at Bristol and I actually studied biology there. But we had the building where I studied backed onto the BBC NHU, so the National History Unit that does all the amazing David Attenborough programmes, etc. Mm-hmm. So I was like, right, that's where I want to work. That's where I want to end up after I've done my biology degree. It's like, great, perfect, that's the plan. And then I got totally sidetracked because a friend of mine said, well, why not come and earn a load of money in the summer holidays and get an internship in the city? It's really good. It pays well. It will fund your year of travelling abroad and then you can go off and, still work in television. So I thought, yeah, sounds fun. Great. Why not? Did that. Got an internship. Earned my money for the summer for my sort of the year that I wanted to go travelling. But at the end of the internship, they offered me a job. And at that point, I just felt like it was too good an opportunity to say no to. So I then said, yeah, okay, fine. I'll come back and work.
So then you're in a finance route. This is the career
Having
path.
never, ever, 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 ever had any ambition to work in finance whatsoever. I mean, I loved maths. I'm going to say I loved maths at school. So that was like the only tenuous link.
Could we affectionately call you as a money fiddler?
I'm not quite sure how to.
Well, that's what I call it. I've got a couple of pals who work in, they're traders and stuff, and I just call them money fiddlers.
Money fiddlers.
Yeah.
I suppose you could.
So what do you do?
So I was on the equity finance desk at UBS trading Scandinavian shares.
Oh my God, how exciting.
So there you go. Yeah, I was in charge of the Scandi markets. But basically, I sort of was doing this job and then was offered another job at a different bank and was about to take this new job offer up. And I remember my mum calling me on the phone. I remember it so well. I was on Carnaby Street. Don't know why I was on Carnaby Street, but I was obviously had come for a meeting, whatever. And she was like, "Oh, are you so excited about your new contract, your new job, blah, blah, blah. You're just about to sign it." And she said, I was like, no, not at all. She was like, "Well, why are you doing it then?" I was like, "Oh, because, it pays me quite a lot of money. And it's a good job, isn't it? Particularly then, like a girl in finance." It was,
What age are you at this point?
Oh, still quite young. I must have been 23.
Okay.
Probably.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Well, why are you doing it?" And I was like, "I don't know." So she then basically said, "Well, don't do it if you don't want to do it. You've got to enjoy your job. Forget about earning money. Do what you love and what you've always wanted to do." And so
Good old
at that
mum,
point,
eh?
I was like, "Good old mum, good old mum." Yeah. I mean, well, hopefully, good old mum. I mean, I'm never going to be able to, retire at 50 with 3 Ferraris outside my house, but
You can't say that.
I will have at least enjoyed my life. That's
Yeah.
for sure.
You only come this way but once, as my
Absolutely.
old man said to me. I didn't really understand at the time. I was probably about 6 or 7. He said, "Son," he said, "this ain't no rehearsal."
Yeah,
I left it at
so
that.
true.
And I don't know what you mean, Dad, but it's right, isn't it?
Isn't it funny, though, that I think we all have this? There's always that really key bit of advice which ends up being absolutely pivotal. In your case, it was from your mum at what was potentially a real crossroads. You had it, Jason. I had it with my dad as well years ago. I worked for the Beeb and I had the opportunity to go freelance and take a more interesting but ultimately more precarious route.
Yeah.
And I always thought my dad was going to do the sort of typical, nope, stay with the BBC, job for life, son, and whatever, and play really safe and whatever. And he kind of goes, "Do you know what? Sod it. Go for it. I think you should go for it." And I was really surprised that he said that, but I did. And I never looked back. And I did indeed have a much more interesting route, but it was ultimately more precarious. But it's funny the way that those things do kind of steer you. So you're sort of 23, 24, mum says, "Do you know what? Be happy, go for it."
Yeah. And obviously, and you do, as you say, it's precarious. It's a massive risk. And actually, I've also got to say, so my mum kind of gave me that first push, but then also my husband, but he was my boyfriend at the time, sort of said, "Well, don't worry about paying the rent. I've got that covered for us. I'll pay the bills. Don't worry about that. You just go out. Try it for 6 months. We'll see how it's going. If it's not really working out very well, well, let's
We'll have another chat.
You got 6 months."
It was like a probation period, I think, which is reasonable. But what is this thing that you're trying though at this point? What exactly is that?
Well, then it was right. Okay, what did I always want to do? I always wanted to go into broadcasting and work for the BBC National History Unit and on those David Attenborough programs. Haven't quite gone that route, but so it was basically what I had to do is get experience. I needed to get experience in television, and I did anything, and really it was, I went off, I made a show reel, I just got experience doing all sorts of things, God, probably watched by nobody, but it didn't really matter because it was just about gaining experience at that point, and really cutting my teeth. And then my first sort of there were 2 big things that happened. One, I started filming a series on sustainability and climate change. And one of the programs that we did had a feature on the future of the electric vehicle.
Okay.
And that's how I discovered that Formula E sort of existed.
Okay.
And then I also got a sort of a break hosting episodes of Escape to the Country on the BBC.
I love that. That's one of my guilty pleasures.
Brilliant. I know.
I love that.
but you only want to watch to find out what they paid for that.
Yeah.
It's like it's an amazing program, but all you need is the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, cut to the back pages of the contract. Forget the first 40 pages. What's in the back page?
It's a brilliant show. Absolutely loved it. And at that time, actually, I was also doing a few bits. I think I'd done a few bits for Goodwood by that point as well, for maybe their digital channels. Yeah, so then I did this sustainability show, found out about Formula E, and it was an interview with Renault, in fact, and they said, yes, we're part of this new racing championship. This was probably in 2013, maybe 2012.
Yeah, I was going to say quite a few years ago.
It was way before it was actually starting. No one knew about it. It hadn't really been publicly announced. And anyway, they told me about this series, and I was like, good luck. I mean, that's not going to work, is it? You know, a racing championship with electric cars with no noise.
Yep.
Nah,
no one's going to like that, are they?
Well, do you know what? You weren't alone in thinking that. Everybody thought that.
Yeah.
And still actually a vast proportion of people still do, but it's changing, isn't it?
Yeah, well, it is. It will. So, I mean, and I think probably in the same way that everyone else has received it is, the first time I heard about it, I thought, yeah, never going to work. And then went home and did think about it and actually thought, well, hang on a minute. If these cars do go as fast as they say they do go, 0 to 60 miles per hour in under 3 seconds, that's pretty fast. If they were these city street circuits, that's pretty cool. The Monaco Grand Prix, that's one of the coolest F1 races there is. Yeah. You'll be having one of those every race. And then, of course, the sustainability credentials, which I still really enjoyed, sort of talking about and doing features on in television for. So it kind of ticked both boxes for me.
So there was a kind of environmental... It is a bit tenuous, I grant you, but there is a link between your nature background and what you do now. Nobody would have ever thought that actually BBC Natural History in Bristol could actually take you to where you are now. But I do sort of get it with the whole electric and sustainability and green aspect.
Yeah. It's about as tenuous as you can get, but there is a link. And I really played on that. And actually, it really drew me into the sport and actually was brilliant because it sort of brought two of my passions together. I was like, oh, okay, so I can be an environmentalist and I can be a petrol head. And this kind of works together. And that Formula E is the thing that is going to bridge that gap. So it was literally bringing like my two passions together. And so I sort of engineered it that I could suddenly, work in motorsport, which had previously only ever been a hobby, and I never considered working in it. It was very much either when I was a young girl I thought I was going to be a Formula One racing driver. Did
you really think that? Was that what you wanted?
I really thought I did, yeah.
Wow. And did that stem back from karts on the farm?
Which is the beautiful thing, really, the sort of naivety as a child that I did a tiny bit of karting, but nowhere near as much as I should have been if I was actually going to be a Formula One racing driver. And I think I probably got to about 15 and was like, yeah, that's probably not going to happen, is it? Sort of the penny drop that I should have been in a kart every weekend if that was a genuine dream. Yeah. But no, I did think it for a very long time. As a little girl.
I want to go backwards then, in which case, because you've obviously mentioned the karting, which is a natural first route for any aspiring racing driver. So where does this sort of petrolhead DNA ultimately originate from? Was it from your parents? Did you mention you were brought up on a farm?
Yeah.
So we've got, sort of my aunt and uncle, they have a farm up in Yorkshire, so we used to spend a fair amount of time there. But the petrolhead side, that's on my mum's side of the family, which I suppose they are sort of petrolheads as well, but it was mainly through my dad and his side of the family. So my dad and my grandfather were they're sort of they're car people and motorsport people. Some people tend to be one or other.
Yeah. But they were both, very much both.
But they were kind of both. So yeah, I was just brought up. My mum always calls it in the house of trouser, where we just talk about cars at the dinner table or motor racing, which when I then left to go to university, she was devastated because she was just left at home with me, my brother and my dad. Yeah, so it was just brought up basically with my dad. His passion for racing and cars just... trickled through really, which is a funny one because I feel like so many people say it, stems from their dad, their love of cars or motorsport. And I really hope the next generation say it's from their mums.
Do you know what? Who knows? It could do. It could do.
Yeah, yeah. I think it is slowly changing. Well, as we've seen, there are small steps to the sort of the way that the demographic is changing in the world of motorsport.
Well, you're doing this Girls on Track initiative, aren't you?
Yes,
you're part of that.
exactly.
I saw that you're an ambassador for Girls on Track. So tell us a bit more. What's the general idea? Is it to make more opportunities for women within the sport?
I think it's definitely making more opportunities, yes. But I also think it's an awareness thing to have there's a channel for the younger generation. If they want to work in motorsport, it gives them a channel to either watch and listen to and hear from people and women from the world of motorsport in every single different discipline. So whether that's you're a racing driver, a photographer, a team principal, a engineer, a tyre technician, a pit lane reporter, so I think this is just to make everyone aware that there are so many different roles within motorsport, thousands of different roles within motorsport. So if you have a passion for motorsport, then there will be a job for you. And then it's basically a way that people can get in touch. So if they have any questions or they need any help, perhaps researching something or maybe needing introductions to someone, or we're here as a resource, so that hopefully and also as a community as well, so other like-minded people and women can get in touch with each other and get together and maybe go for meetups and go to races together. So it's creating a community, I think.
But it's definitely working because there are many, many more girls involved and ladies involved in like you say, the whole circle of motorsport. And there's lots of areas which, unless the message gets out there, you might not know. And
exactly.
there are roles which, I mean, in fact, all the roles really. I've always been an advocate that there is no reason why we can't have a Formula One world champion that is a girl. There is no reason other than it's a numbers game, isn't it? And
Totally.
because it's predominantly men and or boys, and start off in karting, it goes all the way through. The wedge is very fat at the beginning and it gets very pointy at the top. And just if it's 100 to 1, which it probably is actually even more than that, the chances are a girl making it is slim, just purely because of numbers. And hopefully that will change. So come on, first car. What's your first car? Let's have some car stories.
Okay, probably the most cringy, embarrassing first car ever. A Nissan Micra.
You see, I learned to drive in a Micra.
Well, it depends on the colour. What colour?
Bright red.
Oh, that is a bit nasty, isn't it?
I mean, it was so uncool, but oh God, I loved it.
1 litre?
1 litre, baby. The lowest level of the insurance. Oh, yeah.
There wasn't much oomph. I remember hiring one of those in Dublin years ago with 4 big hairy ass lads that I was over there with for why we were going around the mountains in a Micra. I've no idea, but we did. And this thing was really struggling.
It was a little bubble car. The windscreen was so massive. You just had this amazing 360-degree view from every angle. It was brilliant. Oh, and grey interior, slightly dodgy gears.
How long were you riding around in that then?
Oh, I reckon. So by the time I got to university, I think it was in my second year at university, I upgraded myself to a Golf.
Oh, a Golf.
Oh,
that's
a
quite
good
an
step.
upgrade.
Yeah.
It's a pretty serious upgrade.
And then for my 21st birthday, I got myself a really cool personalised number plate.
Oh, do you remember the number?
It was pretty cheesy. It said Nix. It was N17KCS.
And have you still got that plate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not
good.
on a car. I've still got it.
Oh, yeah,
I've got the
on
plate.
retention, yeah.
I haven't put it on a car.
That's interesting. That's interesting. See, I bought a plate for my wife years ago, and it was P50 AFY, and it's Sophie. And do you know what? I always got the impression that although I didn't know, because she was too kind to say, do you know what? It's a bitch, that isn't it? I mean, I don't want to be. Do you know what I mean? But you should, yeah, I like that. And lo and behold, it just, we swapped the car, and I said, no, I don't think I want that anymore. so we've got it on retention permanently. She hates it.
See, I don't know how I feel about them. Because
I like the more subtle ones.
Yeah, but I think some of them, the ones that aren't very good, the ones that look a little bit like a name, and I can't think of a good example now, but we've all seen them. Yeah. And you just look at them and you just kind of go, it's just a bit rubbish, isn't it? Yeah. Because it looks a little bit like Sandra, but it's not Sandra. You know what I mean? Have I told you, Jason, about my father-in-law who's got a couple of plates? He's one of these. He's always bought plates. He's been mad into cars. And what he does is he buys plates sort of cleverly that he thinks he might be able to sell on to somebody else, right? So, I don't know. I'm sort of thinking something like DHL 1 or something, and then try and flog it to the boss of DHL. That sort of thing, right?
And has it ever worked?
No, not yet. But anyway... But he's got, and I was trying to flog these for him, so he's got this pair which I think would be ideal for, in fact, you know what, maybe, Nicki Shields, and I've only just thought about this, you said that your aunt and uncle had a farm in Yorkshire, right?
Yes.
This, I think, is the ultimate pair for a pair of Range Rovers or similar on a nice Yorkshire farm. My father-in-law has got By Gum and By Eck. He's got B7 joking. Gum and B7 ECK.
Honest to God, is that
By
true?
Gum and By Eck he's got.
Brilliant.
Oh, that's a belter.
I can do you a special deal on those. I can get you a bob off on those.
I'll text them now. I'll see if they're in the market for a new one.
Well, Nikki, you know Steve Parrish, don't you, from the Goodwood days?
Yes,
yeah. Do you know what his
do.
plates were?
No.
Oh,
what?
he had the funniest plate of all time. He had PEN1S. I kid you not. And he had it for years on it. And I mean, that is brilliant, isn't it? I'm not sure if he still owns it now. But that is a comedy plate. It probably is the best it ever gets.
Yeah.
So what's been your pride and joy?
In terms of cars?
Yeah.
Well, I did absolutely adore. I had the BMW i8 Roadster.
Oh, wow.
When it first came out, which was mega.
And what was it like to live with? Really good.
Well,
It's a
I
pretty
just
car,
loved the pretty
Yeah,
car,
really good looking car.
and the fact that you could have the roof down, which there's just something to be said. Okay, there aren't that many opportunities you can do it when you're in the UK, but when you can, there is so much enjoyment driving with the roof down. I just love it. Wind in the hair, tunes blasting. Posing with the sunglasses on.
It's a good-looking car.
Brilliant.
It is a good-looking car. Did you find the i8 restrictive? Did you find that...
Well...
Ultimately, and you know where I'm going with this, because electric cars are brilliant and we all understand that they're the future and they're extremely clever. However, the big issue...
Is there a sense of sarcasm in your voice there, Dave?
No. I think we all agree, but the issue is range, isn't it? You know, and charging and infrastructure, ultimately. Did you find it was something that you wanted to live with in a long-term fashion?
Well, the beautiful thing about the i8 is it's a hybrid, so you can put petrol in it.
Okay.
So that was not a limiting factor. What was a limiting factor was the fact that I then went and had a baby, and there was no space for a car seat in the non-existent seats in the back.
You need a 911. That's
then
what
I
you
had to
need.
go with a really
Got
boring
plenty
big
space
car.
in the back for 2 babies.
Yeah. Do you know what? I actually took for a test drive the other day, and that was the Porsche Taycan.
And what do you think? Because I've just recently done a bit of work with them.
Oh, and...
I mean, they're insane, aren't they?
Yes.
I mean, aren't they?
Right answer.
Aren't
Well
they?
done. Amazing. I was literally like, I want one of these now.
Yeah.
And you're right. 2 brilliant seats in the back with big doors that you can easily get a car seat in. I was like, this is actually a family car.
Have you seen the new one? The new shape? The Cross Torino, which has got the estate
Oh, yes.
back.
Yeah.
That's the car to
nice.
have.
But it's the only car on the market, to my knowledge, where you can be an environmentalist and a mentalist at the same time.
I like that theory.
It's true, though, isn't it?
And
a mentalist.
Yes.
Nothing else you can do it.
It's amazing. And that's what I think this is what the beautiful thing about electric cars is that you can still have so much fun driving them. Okay, you do miss the noise. You know, when you switch the engine on, you're like, hello, is the engine on? But you still get the same enjoyment from driving it, I think.
Yeah.
And to be fair, when you're inside the car And once you've got your tunes blaring, you can't hear the engine noise anyway.
Well, it depends what car you drive. Obs.
I've just got my music really loud, okay?
And what kind of stupid exhaust you're going to fit it to?
Yeah, true. My big subwoofer there. You know,
Yeah.
I've got the bass really loud. But you know, the enjoyment is to be had from people that you drive past. They get the enjoyment of listening to your engine, not you
that's true.
inside the car. So actually, I think so much enjoyment from driving that Porsche Taycan.
If you spent any time in that car, Dave, have you been in it and tried it?
No, I haven't.
I
I
mean, you
haven't.
must.
I have seen a couple of films about it, but I'm yet to see one in the flesh.
Well, they've developed like the synthetic noise you get in modern
Yes.
cars.
Yeah,
Theirs
yeah.
is different, and theirs was developed for Le Mans, and they realised that with their Le Mans car, if they created a certain synthetic sound, and they had it, and it wasn't like an engine, although it kind of is in the way it goes up and down, that the drivers could then use that normal sense which we drive with, and their lap time improved, and it's the same sound, and it's like a spaceship.
Really?
It's mega. The sound. Did you find that?
Yeah,
Nikki?
yeah, it's very cool.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not too futuristic. I thought.
Yeah, it's just there, isn't it, in the background?
Exactly, it's a nice.
But when you
yeah.
say a noise, I mean, so in other words, something which increases in sort of pitch the faster you go, thus replicating the engine noise getting higher.
Yeah, and also it seems to increase also in stress as well. So it's not just
Okay.
like a linear noise. It's almost like a 3D noise.
Yeah.
Where if you're cornering hard and it just makes sense from a driver's perspective. And they found lap time at Le Mans, but it's a very cool noise.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool.
I have a theory about these synthetic sounds that they've been putting into electric cars, because I think when they first started doing it, everyone was a bit like, synthetic noise in your car, that's weird, don't bother doing that, it's fine, we'll just enjoy the quietness of an electric engine. But actually, I think everyone has come to realise that they actually really enjoy having the synthetic sounds. So I think this is something that we're going to see going forward, that actually the synthetic sound is actually getting it noisier and noisier, and kind of almost go back to how internal combustion cars sounded. Obviously with still the sound of an electric engine, but as noisy as perhaps now that we've all come to, I think, kind of agree that we like the synthetic sounds.
Yeah, well, they're playing them outside the car as well now, aren't they? So that pedestrians can hear them.
Well, that's the thing, isn't it, with electric cars, is they can be dangerous in so much you just don't hear them coming up on you.
But Dave, in answer to your question as well about would I stress about living with an electric car, from the i8, but obviously the i8 was fine because it was hybrid. But something like your Porsche Taycan has a range of about 270 miles.
There you go. It's enough for anybody.
It is enough.
Hold on. That's marketing blurb. I killed one in 15 laps at Castle Combe from 98% to zero or next to zero in 15 laps. So. But, of course, you'd never drive like that on the road. But if you drive it sensibly, steady, you get 200. But for me, that's not enough.
I think this is the one thing about electric cars, is that suddenly you have to drive like you're supposed to, not like how you want to. And the difference of driving at 85 miles an hour on the motorway to 70 miles an hour on the motorway is huge. So I'm like, I'll just drive a bit slower, and then I don't need to charge it at the other end.
So you are full electric now then? You're a converted?
Yeah.
So what's on the drive at the moment? This is going to be my next question.
So we have an i3, BMW i3. So that has a range. Yeah, it's supposed to be about 150, but yes, it probably is more like 100. But to be honest, with that car, I'm always just doing local journeys.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter.
Again,
It works.
when the speed limit is 20 miles an hour on all the roads where I live, I might maybe get to 25 miles an hour.
I think electric cars work in cities.
No, absolutely. I'd have one all day long in a city.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is brilliant. And the other brilliant thing is at the moment, the question is how long these will remain. I don't know, but you get things like you don't have to pay congestion charge in London.
Watch that change very soon, by the way.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah,
So come on, you must have something naughty in the garage, though. Have you not?
And then I've got a sensible BMW X5.
Oh, he's got a big engine.
Yeah, it does.
Yay!
Diesel or petrol?
Petrol.
Petrol. 3 litre petrol.
that's a good bit.
So,
In
well,
such a
hybrid,
great bit.
I should say.
Oh,
It's
perfect.
hybrid.
Best of both.
It's plug-in as well. Yeah. So it does 30 miles on electric only.
See, I really like the idea of a plug-in hybrid. For me, that's that at the moment with the way the battery tech is, and it's not
Yeah.
far off being full electric, but at the moment, plug-in hybrid is the way forward, I think.
I think if you're doing shorter journey, if you're doing a combo, so if you're doing like that, you know, the average commute
Yeah.
is supposedly 20 miles. If you're doing that average commute and you've got access to a charger at home, it's brilliant because you pretty much pay like 1p a mile for your fuel. And it's so easy if you can get a home charger installed at your house. Or you've got public charging near you. And then, yeah, you've got the backup of doing petrol for the longer journeys.
I think what you've got there genuinely is in terms of where you live in the city or on the outskirts of the city. I think that makes total sense. You know, you've got a family, you've got the big car for going outside of the city. And then,
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
for pottering around locally, as you say, I think electric cars are brilliant for that. Definitely, if I lived in a city, I'd have one.
Yeah, me too. Me too.
Without a doubt. There's no points, you know, running petrol around town, is there?
Well, to be honest, we need to get. It's time for Soph's car to go, and we're actually truly considering going full electric. I mean, we haven't quite got there in our head yet because it's school trip.
Oh, I think you should get her the Jaguar I-Pace, which I just drove, and I absolutely loved it. Oh, the Honda E.
What's that
How old are your
like?
kids?
I know what you mean. It's a
Oh,
good-looking thing,
brilliant.
isn't it? It's quite funky, that car.
Great.
Have you driven
Really
it?
cool.
Is it good?
Yes, it's lovely. Brilliant. It's full of tech. It's fun. Like the kids will love it. It's got a half decent range, you know, if it is.
Well,
just
do you know
for
what she has
local
got? A
journeys.
good pal of ours has got a Tesla X, you know, with the big slidey
Oh,
door.
snazzy.
Yeah.
And do you know what the best thing about the Tesla X is? There's a setting on the dashboard on their big
Oh,
big
you're
screen where you can
is it the
make
fart machine?
the rear the indicators give out fart noises in the back
Yeah.
for the kids. Isn't that
It's
fantastic?
so good. It's so good.
That's
I know.
what
It's full of
That's what my
game.
two girls were. Oh, Dad, can we get the fart car?
Yeah, I know. That's the most expensive fart machine.
I know they are,
Absolutely.
aren't they? They're,
Yeah.
they're like 100 grand,
They're
those things, aren't they?
expensive.
I think I might already know the answer to this from our previous conversation thread, but fantasy drive, okay? You're allowed a 2-car fantasy drive or garage. Money is not an object.
Whoa, only 2 cars.
Only
Okay.
2 cars. What are those 2 cars?
Okay, so my go-to, which is just a car that I fell in love with again when I was little and had the little model, was the Ferrari F40.
Mm-hmm.
And our good friend,
Wow.
Mr. Franchitti, happens to own one. He's still not let me go in it.
He's
or
not,
drive
has
it.
he?
No.
Oh, we need to have a word with them about that. That's
I'm
just
working
not
on it.
on.
If you could put in a good word, Jason.
Yeah, without a
it'd be
doubt.
Much appreciated.
That's a great car.
Yeah, I love that car. It just reminds me of my childhood and my love of cars and Ferrari as well.
30 years old now, aren't they? Something like that? Scarily.
God, I wish I could have bought one 30 years ago.
But they don't look that dated.
No, I agree.
Like but isn't that amazing? You know, a car
Yeah.
that old
Yeah.
and it still looks like it could have come out in the last 5 years.
I agree. And I look at it and I still regard it as I still think it's a sort of modern Ferrari. Does that make sense? In the looser
Yes.
sort of term. But I don't think of it
Totally.
being an old car. So what are you going to haul the family around then on your dream drive then, Nikki?
Oh, do I have to get a car that's going to fit them in?
Well, or are you just going to leave them the Uber app and then you just kind of bugger off and do your own thing?
What I was going to go for, because I felt I've got to stay true to my electric roots, I was going to go for a little electric supercar. And one which I've had my eye on for a while is the Pininfarina Battista.
Yeah, that's a good car.
Don't think there's going to be any space for the family. That's the only problem.
Oh,
But I'm not
wow.
so worried about that.
I can see how not concerned you are by this predicament.
Do you know what? But I don't know how many of these we've done, but you've quite possibly been the most selfish two-car lady or
Yeah.
man ever on
Ever.
our show. Not concerning yourself about the family at all. That's epic.
Yeah, I mean, I do like it. You really don't care. It's brilliant. On that note, Jason, I think you should take us out.
So that's it for this week's Fueling Round, powered by Adrian Flux. As the UK's largest specialist insurance broker, Adrian Flux will tailor a quote to your exact needs and help you save money on your car, your bike, or in fact your home insurance. Thanks, Dave, as always, and a huge thanks to our special guest this week, the wonderful Nicki Shields. Thanks, Nix.
Thank you so much, guys. Absolutely loved it. Thanks, Dave. Thanks, Jason.
It's an absolute pleasure having you on. Don't forget, you can get in touch with us on Twitter at Jason Plato or at David Vitty. And if you like what you've heard, feel free to give us a 5-star rating, press the subscribe button, and share the podcast on all your socials.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.